Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother, Love Ruthie. Ruth Smallshaw Ray's Letters to Her Mother, 1949, Part 39. This is the first part of the original publication, Smallshaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC, number 27, published on February 22nd, 1998. And a letter from the editor of the SFMC, yours truly, Peter J. Ray. Hello, everybody. Well, here's another swell issue. Finally, after all the times with old loves, Duffy, Nancy Wilson, Marshall Parrott, Don Lane, Wade Palms, Jack the Marine, etc., Ruthie and John are together, boyfriend and girlfriend, and their wedding day on August 19th, 1950 is fast approaching, unbeknownst to them. And what a life Ruthie is having in 1949 in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, I don't know why everyone doesn't live in Ohio. Of course, springtime in Cleveland is so special after enduring the long, dark winter. Spring is a time of hope. Hope springs eternal. A time for new life, new beginnings, and the new baseball season. In the spring of 1949, the Cleveland Indians were preparing to defend their 1948 World Series championship, and Ruthie was right in the middle of all the excitement. Little did anyone know that would be the last World Series title in Cleveland for many years, 49 and counting. Actually, it's up to 70 years in 2019. Although surely 1998, the 50th anniversary of 1948, will be the year. It was not. But let's not lose our train of thought here. After all, this is about Ruthie Smallshaw's youth, a young woman in 1949 who faced the awful prospect of her 25th birthday. Getting old indeed, probably become an old maid, but no. Ruthie would wed John S. Ray, that dynamic young man, catch of catches. A young man on the go, going places, full of charisma, full of it. He was just full of it. And at the co-op at 2493 Overlook Road in Cleveland Heights, Ruthie and John were getting to know each other. They both had schedules that were bursting. Of course, that became a way of life for them which continues until now, or at least till the end of their lives. Not the life of sloth for Ruthie Smallshaw and John S. Ray. Ruthie continued to doggedly pursue her dream, her degree, her B.S. degree. No wonder her daughter Patricia's M.D. degree, received 38 years later in 1987, would be such a source of pride for Ruthie, despite kidding from persons unmentioned, when Christmas letters, Xeroxed from a number of years in a row, were read in a condo in a mid-Pacific garden island, Kauai, Hawaii, and Patricia M.D. or P.A.R.M.D. became laughingly redundant. But alas, we are again off the topic. Ruthie in Cleveland in 1949, and John S. Ray pursuing her as so many others had before. John Ray, a born leader, working full-time as a chemist while pursuing his law degree at night. A law degree which would help him establish a legal practice in Cleveland, at which he would thrive, be admired and respected, and finance vacations in the islands, one island in particular, of the Bahamas, Cistern Key, and the Exumas, with the family which he and Ruthie would begin begetting in 1952, with a boy who would grow into a most spiritual man who would later lead his younger brother into the swamp of sense pleasure, and then out of that swamp to a life of prayer, meditation, and service. So, dear family, enjoy this drama, and thanks Mom and Dad for being such wonderful parents for so many years and counting. Love, Peter. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. February 7th, 1949. Dearest Mother, Daddy, and Bud, it's a beautiful day, the beginning of a new semester, and a lot of work ahead. Yesterday after church and dinner, Miss Bender asked Dale and I to go for a drive around Cleveland, and I saw some more of the country too. It's very lovely, and I really do like this part of the country more and more. Later she took us to her apartment for supper, and to look over the tentative sketches for the book which I'll start in on now. I had to come back to go babysitting in the evening. I got out of Miss Bender's car into the man's to go sitting. I also went to look after a little girl Saturday night, so made $3.50, enough for lunches and streetcar home. John's grandfather died, so he went home Friday for the funeral and won't be back until tomorrow. However, he said he'd be waiting for me after school tomorrow. This morning, though, I had to get up earlier in order to ride with Wayne Duff. Got to school at 10 to 8. Saturday morning, Dick went with me to the art museum to pick out 2 new pictures. We took back Dagus's Dancing Girls and an ocean scene, and finally chose Gauguin, 2 of his native girls, and Georgia O'Keeffe's Autumn Leaves. It just made me happy to go to the art museum. If I ever have children, I hope they have the opportunity and the interest to study art from the time they're little. In the afternoon, I got hungry for pancakes, so Gunter made some for Bill and I. They were just like leather, and I would be sick if I ate them all, so Bill and I made more. They were really good, but when it came time to make supper, they asked me to help. The menu? Pancakes and sausages, and pancakes. I felt like a pancake, but it was fun. The co-op is quite the place. Bill asked me to go bowling with him Saturday night, but I went babysitting. I looked for a letter from you today. I can just imagine Daddy proofreading this, but I'm not much of a typist and just don't have the time. It just hurts me so much to think of the best brother in the world being unhappy. I'm glad that he's working on something, but the idea of anyone spending any more time than necessary in a city like Regina seems more foolish the more I see of this great big wonderful world. Then, too, I do think there are so many vocations that show more of a future. Don't misunderstand me. I'm all for it now and believe you should apply yourself with all you've got. But I don't want you to think that it's the be-all and end-all, because if you want to think that, but if you want to prove your worth, something will show itself, probably working out of it all. Regina Normal to Cleveland for me has been a path, even though roundabout, and 6 years. When I'm away, I can see so much more clearly how unfortunate it is that we 4 don't pull more together. Why, this co-op shows more of a family spirit than Daddy, Mom, Bud, and I. When I was sick last weekend, I think everyone showed more concern. And as far as encouragement, when things don't go right, everyone gives courage rather than discouragement, and pitch in to help rather than sit back and say it can't be done. Our family could have a beautiful home and car and be living in a beautiful part of the world. And what's more important, going to church as a family rather than pulling different ways and spending time and energy on useless things. And barring the depression, because enough time and energy have been spent since then. It's an old story, and I'm not mad at anybody, but when I see it so clearly, I have to say it. I love you, Ruthie. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, USA, February 22nd, 1949. Dearest Mother and Bud, I'm so glad that George Washington had a birthday. This has been a wonderful day, remarkable in the fact that it's the first morning in I don't know how long that I've been able to sleep in. I slept until 11:30, and John phoned at noon and was so glad that I'd been able to sleep, as he's been worried about the all-night painting sessions I've had. Then there are so many little things that I've been able to get at today, too. I guess when I last wrote, I was all enthusiastic about the convention. I managed to get to Marion, Ohio on the bus okay and had dinner with John's cousin before the kids arrived from Cleveland. Then we went to the dance. It was a club dance and different in the fact that the requirements to belong are that only married couples can belong. They are 1940 to 1948 graduates that John went to school with. We enjoyed it and stayed at John's cousin's. He said he was sorry I couldn't meet his grandparents, but they'd gone to Toledo. However, I met other relatives on Sunday and saw Marion, Ohio, and President Warren Harding's home and memorial. John's little cousin, 2.5, asked to have my book read to him 3 times and laughed and laughed. This pleased me, my public, really good. We drove like mad to get back for my babysitting appointment. John sat with me and we studied, and also last night earned $3.50, good for lunch money. It was swell to get your letters, and I hope you don't dream of accidents anymore. John's last name is Ray, as you'll see on the Valentine. And I mentioned that I had a horrible letter from Wade. Oh, I'm so glad I came north. It just makes me feel sick to think of how near I was to staying in the South. Did you ever see Connie? I had a nice letter from her, and maybe you'd like to ask her over briefly some night. Gee, this has been a nice day, about the nicest relaxed day since the day and evening that Wade had to count votes and couldn't come over. That was a very relaxed day. Well, darling, back to work and school, and I'll be looking for a letter. Lots of love, Ruthie. P.S. Tell Joyce I got a big kick out of her picture of me. If she keeps on that way, she might end up an artist. I thought I sent but 1 pair of stockings, but we'll try to send more for Irene. F.R.S. I just told a lie. I wonder if it makes a person's conscience any clearer if they confess to someone else. One of the girls whom I don't care too much for one thing, every morning she used to climb in beside John in the car until he finally held the seat back and asked her to get in the back. But I didn't care for her before that. She's always borrowing things. I don't mind loaning my roommate or girls I like things. So she just asked if I had any soap flakes, and I shook my head in the negative, with a box of Oxydol in the closet. I'm a bad, selfish girl. But in one day before Christmas, she asked me for Halo bobby pins, a pair of white mitts, and $1, all of which I said I didn't have. So, my roommate said I didn't lie, as Oxydol is beads. Goodbye, dear. I love you, Ruth. P.S. Honey, what did you ever do about those lamps? I've kicked myself 1,000,000 times for not bringing them back with me, as we could use them so well. I suppose it'd be hardly worth the expense of sending them. Did I ever tell you I have Bud's sack, and how delighted I was to discover you'd washed my sweater? I love you, Ruth. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, February 23, 1949. Dearest Mother, Daddy, and Bud, I know, I just posted a letter to you this morning, but I just had to write and tell you how happy I am. I came home at 7:30 after a long, hard day since 8:30 this morning, and still hadn't had time for supper, so feeling really low. And my marks had come. I got 3 A's and 2 B's for the 5 courses, which is a full load. Honestly, I just burst with excitement. I was so happy. The kids have been swell and saying that was good, but I rather feel that they're all used to getting A's, especially since most of them are graduate students, so must be good to go on for their MAs. But Ruthie's so happy. John was kidding me that I was a Phi Beta Kappa kid, which apparently means very top, but they don't seem to think it's a good idea for a girl to be all brilliance. Honestly, though, I'm so happy. I had no idea whether I'd pass or fail, and just rather was expecting anything. It's such a wonderful feeling, and as you know, encouragement is always more incentive to me, so I'm all anxious to get to studying and see what I really can do. Believe me, it makes it worthwhile to have come back to school. Hope I can keep on doing as well. Good night, my sweet family. Just wanted to tell you, lots of love, Ruthie. P.S. Miss Bender told Dale to tell me today that Miss Cuthbert, the head of the Ohio Special Education, gave her authority to definitely hire me to teach next fall in Superior School, the school that the children were from that Miss Bender demonstrated with. Golly, life's good. FRS. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, February 28, 1949. Dearest Mother, Daddy, and Bud, my roommate just told me that she had to retract a statement that she had made about me, and naturally I asked her what it had been. She said that previously she'd said I worked 25 hours out of every day, and she had to change that to 27 hours a day. What brought that on was that the Chinese boy went to the hospital Friday with a tonsillitis infection, infected tooth, and penicillin infection. So I took up a collection, and John drove me down, and I bought the fellow an azalea plant, very pretty red, which John said he practically caressed when he took it into him. They wouldn't let but one in, and magazines and 2 cards, which I got everyone to sign. With the balance of the money, I plan to get him fruit when he can eat again. Of course, as in every crowd, I met differences of opinion. Most gave very generously, but the 2 girls I've mentioned, borrowers, I got no cash, but a whole lot of advice. They earn money too. Flowers, no. Very impractical for someone in our circumstances. Not Time magazine or anything light, but the New Republic, Wallace's magazine, etc., etc., until I very nearly reached my limit. However, I ignored it all. So maybe I'm beginning to grow up in some respects, as I'm beginning to think a little of others. I got the kids to go by with his mail tonight, as everyone had forgotten. No visitors till tomorrow. It's a blizzardly night, and has been all day, almost like Christmas at home, and such a surprise as weather's been so spring-like, and yesterday just beautiful. I went babysitting last night. They invited me to supper first, and I earned $3. Hard to believe those 35-cent evenings of my high school days. 3 or 4 people have been asking me, so I got my roommate to go, and she earned $1.75, which thrilled her so. It's funny, but John raised his eyebrows the first time I went, but Saturday night he and Wayne decided to go babysitting in order to get some studying done for their final exam, which is Thursday. I'm still happy about my 3 A's and 2 B's. We had a creative arts party Saturday night, which was a huge success. Everyone got very interested and didn't even want to get beer. We had clay and finger painting and charcoal, anything they wanted, and of course I was in my element. And being education chairman, the kids have all been telling me what a success it was. I did some finger painting and a portrait of Dale in charcoal, which the kids have all liked. They took some flash bulbs, pictures of it, and I'll send you it if they come out okay. Some kids said they wanted to frame it and hang it in the living room to start a tradition. They had an advisory board meeting last night and tell me they showed it to Judge Drecker, and they were impressed by our talent, all of which I enjoy. Mrs. Heinrich has invited me to a hanging Friday night coming, and Dale. Yesterday, John drove me over to the clinic, and Dale took recordings of our voice, me for my phonetics class, and John says he's going to send his home. He has a terrible cold that he's trying to shake. He picked me up on the way home from school, so I was really glad in such a blizzard. I was really happy to get your letters Saturday, and Buddy dear, hey, 20 pounds is a wonderful gain. Don't make me feel too good. Thanks a lot for all the nice things you say, but no one knows more than I how really weak and scared I am to do a lot of the things I do. It's not courage, but mostly 'cause there's nothing else to do. I hate myself for the way I let little things make me feel real blue or so elated, but it's me. I really worked hard Saturday morning, speech and lip reading with quite tough problems. I did my washing Saturday afternoon and just dampened things to iron, and Walter accidentally knocked them on the floor, so I just dumped them back in the washing machine. He offered to send them to the laundry, and Gloria offered to wash them with hers, but I'll do 'em again. It's just one bigger and bigger round of things to be done. I got my first check, and just like the first one in Saskatoon, owe it all in board, darn. I taught Sunday school and went to church. Got Miss Bender a birthday cake Thursday, and Mrs. Fortune and two of the teachers and I got her a corsage when we were in Columbus. Marion's wedding picture arrived. We look real, don't we? I don't know anyone in your pictures but you, and you're prettier than the pictures. I love you. Must get at my anatomy. Love, Ruthie. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, March 16th, 1949. Dearest Mother, I looked for a letter from you today, so I'm just ignoring the pile of books and another psychology test that's looming up for tomorrow night, to remind you that I'm looking for a letter. I really feel guilty when I think of all the people I should write to, so ease my conscience by trying to keep in close contact with you. I put in a full good day's work, phoning 2 3/4 hours at the clinic and another half hour at home. The girl at the switchboard, Barbara, at the clinic said I really kept her busy. Then phonetics class. Gloria got me up at 6:30 this morning, as Dave and Jim were leaving early to go back to Cincinnati. She made pancakes for us, and it was fun. Then we took a couple of pictures, and they left. By that time, John was ready to leave for school. Yesterday afternoon, John, Wayne, Ann, and I went for a drive and took some snaps, too. 3 cameras full, so they ought to be good. Had supper with Jim, Dave, and Gloria, and then went babysitting next door, and John came over and studied. Dave had told Jim he ought to feel very honored going out with the first lady of the house, the president's girlfriend, except that John isn't president any longer. They told me that they wished I'd gone driving with them and out last night. John asked me for a date for all next weekend, within reason, so he won't get beat out again. Oh, I can tell you, Dale has a diamond. She's back at school this morning. He's a nice fellow from the other house that she's just known since January. He's real nice, going in for architecture. Jewish, so she doesn't know her family's reaction. She's keeping it a secret at the house, so I can't tell the other kids. I've never been quite so surrounded with looming marriages. And today at supper, George, the Chinese boy, got a long-distance call. Jimmy, the Chinese fellow from the other house, whom I consulted about George's flowers and fruit, went to Pittsburgh for an interview. This morning he was found dead by the lady in the boarding house. So some of the kids drove George to get the body. Chang just phoned long distance from Boston to find out too. The funniest thing was that this morning John was telling us about the dream he had last night, that he was burying George, although he wasn't dead, but just dying. He was asking him to bury him. It's made us feel rather strange. They're so far from home and are having so much bad luck. It's hard to believe he's dead. Did I tell you that I bought 2 pretty new lamps with mauve shades and a green rug for our room? It's nicer now. Good night, darling. Love, Ruthie. The Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center, a community fun agency affiliated with Western Reserve University, Garfield House, 11206 Euclid Avenue, Cleveland 6, Ohio, March 7th, 1949. Dearest Mother, Daddy, and Bud, it seems as if Ruthie were in a state of exhaustion all the time lately. I've been carrying paper and envelopes around every day in hopes I'd have time to say hi to you. I can't remember when I've packed in so many varied things into my days and weeks. Since I last wrote, I've studied for, written, and I hope passed and hope more, so that I got a good grade in psychology. I'll know tomorrow, so we'll tell you how I did. Fingers crossed. If I'd written sooner, I'd probably mentioned how happy I was to be looking forward to 2 dances. Bill asked me to one of the university dances Friday night, and John asked me to go to Oberlin to a dance with Wayne and Ann Saturday. I was so glad. They both fell through, though. Bill decided $5 was too much for a dance, coupled with the fact that it infuriates him when I go out with John. So he punished me, and I was late getting home from the banquet. Then Saturday I had a very strenuous morning teaching speech, followed by lip reading. John met me at 12:30 and drove me to the art museum, where we picked out 2 more pictures, Jesus with the High Priest by George Raoult and Lilies. After we had a Jewish supper here, borscht, cheese blintzes, marinated herring and onions, and compote and meringue on peaches. I was too tired to go to Oberlin, as were Wayne and Ann, so I went to bed. John told me to sleep until I felt okay, but Gloria and Dave and Ann and Wayne thought we should go to the movies. John was afraid to wake me, but finally decided to, so we went to the movies with them. Sunday I got ready for Sunday school, only to discover Mr. Brown had called. No Sunday school because the furnace was out. Sunday I transcribed records of my voice while the kids played bridge, and then went babysitting, and John came to drive me home. Hi, my precious family. This is just a quick note before I get to studying for my phonetics test to tell you I love you and enjoyed so much your all 3 letters together. I hope you're all fine. I've been in a bad mood, too much work and routine, I guess, and feeling restless, but glad to hear Buddy's getting along better. I feel better today, though, as both Bill and John sort of talk me out of it, as they say I've so much to be satisfied for. The weather is so beautiful, though, and it is hard to stay in routine, but must be done. John took me to the movie last night, and we went with Paul and Bunny to a bar, and I had ginger ale, and when we came home we played bridge. They said I could tell you that I made 7 diamonds, which they said was good, but I'm still in a fog about the whole thing. I taught Sunday school and went to church, and John asked if I'd go to church with him Easter Sunday. Right. Love, Ruthie. To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Good luck to you with your efforts in family history. If this interests you, finding, preserving, and sharing old letters, diaries, and photographs, and interviewing elderly relatives while they're alive, you might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History, with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.